Hi, I hope you're doing well. I hope you had a great day or are having a great day if you're still within yours. I'm glad you're here. Sorry if you hear some noise. There are planes overhead. Can't really do too much about how loud they are or how clearly it's coming through. So today I wanted to talk about breath of fire because I haven't done a video on that yet. Doing this a bit backwards. Most people front load this type of stuff, but I'm doing it a bit differently. So breath of fire or Agni Pran. It is a key element of Kundalini Yoga and it's used in a lot of different meditations, a lot of different kriyas. And well, it's really important. It is an incredibly cleansing practice. So the focus is at the navel point and it's rapid. It's 2 to 3 breaths per second. It's similar to a pant. So if you stick your tongue out, open your mouth. Think of a dog, a cat, when they are trying to cool themselves, they stick their tongue out and they pant. It's done from the navel point. Same thing here, only we're doing it through the nostrils. Now, there is a lion's breath that is exactly that. It's a panting through the mouth. And you, with lion's breath, you stick your tongue all the way out. So, with breath of fire, like I said, it's done through the nostrils, 2 to 3 seconds. It's basically panting through the nostrils with no pause between the inhale and the exhale. So on the inhale, you're going to allow your abdomen to bring in the air, obviously, but you're going to expand the abdomen out. So when you first start with breath of fire, if you're not familiar with it or you haven't done it previously or it's been a while, start with a slower breath of fire, start with a slower practice, and then slowly increase both the speed and then the time. So both come, well, they don't necessarily come together, but you do want to slowly increase it. It's not, when I first started, a lot of the teachers were saying you just, it's just rapid. You just get in there. And that's, fortunately, I found another teacher that was like, nope, stop all that. You start slowly. If you need to start at a slower pace, that's perfect. You're still getting the same amount of cleansing. It's still the same benefits. You're just allowing yourself to build up both the lung capacity and the knowledge of how it feels when you're doing it correctly. So with a slower breath, you'll notice that it's your stomach expands out on the the inhale and then pulls back on the exhale. But feel how you can feel the differences of breath of fire versus just a normal inhalation and exhalation. So it's better to start with a slower breath of fire. So you can kind of feel how the pumping of the navel is it's in line with the breath. There's no separation. You can really feel how the two go together. That'll make more sense as you practice it. And then you want to make sure that you're equally emphasizing both the inhale and the exhale. It's neither is greater than or lesser than the other. They're equal. So with a slower breath of fire, sorry, that's not slower. I'm used to my normal meditative practice here. Okay, so slow down. So even I'm having a hard time slowing it down. I'm so used to doing it a little bit faster. Sorry. So you can get in there and notice that the the inhale and the exhale are equal. And you do want to inhale when you first start, so it's sort of like double Dutch where you inhale and then kind of get in there. But so you do inhale and then go from there. So, breath of fire can be practiced by itself, or it can be utilized within a meditation, a posture, or a kriya. Then, so also I wanted to point this out. So, breath of fire is different than Kapalabhati. So, Kapalabhati emphasizes the cleansing of the head with a forceful exhale and an automatic inhale. Breath of fire is an overall cleansing. It's very purifying for the blood. It's very purifying for the lungs. You're building lung capacity. It's very strengthening for the glandular system, the nervous system. So it's not, breath of fire is not focused in the head. You're strengthening your navel system. So there is a difference between the two. I just wanted to take a second to point that out. So, a few of the benefits, I did just mention a few of them right there. One of them is that it is, well, I've actually alluded to most of these, so I just want to reiterate it's a very powerfully cleansing breath. It gives a boost to our immune system and increases our physical stamina, obviously, by helping our immune system, by building our lung capacity. That's obviously going to help our physical stamina. It also increases the efficiency of blood circulation and the pranic energy, which also increases the potency of the posture meditation or kriya that it's being utilized in. And then, of course, it's obviously strengthening the blood circulation and pranic energy. If you're just doing it alone, there's still many benefits. And then, as I said, I just want to reiterate this again. It's cleansing, it's energizing, and it strengthens the nervous system, the glandular system, along with the third chakra because we're pumping from the navel system, or excuse me, the navel center, navel system, the navel center. It also increases vitality by cleansing the blood, which again, I just want to reiterate, building lung capacity with the practice itself and by removing toxins from the lungs, the mucus lining, blood vessels, and other cells. And then again, very strengthening for the glandular and nervous systems. That's going to aid our ability to withstand stress, right? If our nervous system and our glandular systems are strong, along with our third chakra, that helps us withstand stress because our third chakra is basically our willpower. That's our powerhouse, right? Anytime you're doing a squat, you pull from the navel center. You pull yourself up from the navel center. Anytime we're pumping with breath of fire, we're doing it from the navel system. I keep wanting to call it the navel system, the navel center. Um, and anytime we're chanting had, it's always from our navel center. So that's our powerhouse. That's our center of willpower. Breath of fire also reduces addictive impulses along with any unhealthy food choices. Again, because we're strengthening our navel center, which is our willpower. It's also it also has to do with our self-esteem. Um, the masks that we throw up, it when we strengthen our navel center, it helps us to let those go because we feel more confident within ourselves, right? Breath of fire can also repair or bring balance between the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous systems. And the practice can be built from 3 minutes to 20 minutes by alternating 3 minutes of breath of fire with 2 minutes of rest. Now, contraindications for breath of fire obviously are going to be pregnancy because you're pumping from your navel center. Please don't do this if you're pregnant or if you're well, I was going to say, or if you're planning to get pregnant, but depending on where you're at with that journey, I would obviously reach out to a practitioner or a medical professional before you do that. Now, most people say the first few days of menses. I've heard it the first 3 days of menses. And the reason being because menses is already very cleansing, right? The body's already going through a pretty big detox. You don't need to add breath of fire to that. That's gonna add more stress to your body. Instead of actually aiding it, it's gonna make it work harder. So always tune in because there have been a couple of times where I have done breath of fire within the first 3 days of menses and it was okay. It didn't feel like it was harming anything. I didn't feel overheated. I didn't feel overtaxed. Now, those were very stressful times. So it was a little bit different. Always check in with yourself. First 3 day of menses, general rule being just do long, deep breathing in place of breath of fire. If you have heart conditions, if you have high blood pressure, please don't use breath of fire. Use long, deep breathing in place of. What I will do within the first 3 days of my menses when I'm doing long, deep breathing and I don't feel like it's enough is I will visualize myself doing breath of fire while doing long, deep breathing so that I'm still mentally projecting those benefits without actually overtaxing my body or my systems. Now, last thing I want to say about this are common mistakes. So, most common is the ratio between the inhalation and the exhalation. When you overemphasize one or the other, there could be dizziness, lightheadedness, your equilibrium is real off balance. I've done this myself and I've had all three of these situations. So, when that happens, stop doing breath of fire, do a couple of long inhalations and exhalations, find your balance, find your breath, come back to it, and start with a slow breath of fire. So bring it back so that you connect to both the inhalation and the exhalation. And then one way that I help to maintain my inhalation and exhalation is, again, if I feel like I'm going too fast, I will slow it down. I stop, I inhale, exhale a couple times, make sure I'm allowing myself that recentering, and then I do slow breath of fire or a slower breath of fire because you really want to maintain the balance between the inhalation and exhalation because neither is longer or deeper than the other. They are the same. Think of panting, right? Next one is pumping with exaggerated movements at the stomach, right? It's you're emphasizing the stomach or the navel pumps over the breath. And again, it's not greater than or less than. They are equal. Just like the inhalation and exhalation are equal, the navel pump is also the same. And you'll notice as you practice this more, when you do a slower breath of fire, the navel pump is a little bit lighter versus when you start to increase it, it does become um, a little bit deeper, a little bit sharper, but it's not exaggerated. It's more that you're just increasing the pumps, so you can feel it a little bit stronger, at least in my experience. And when you're exaggerating that navel pumping, you'll notice that often what happens is you're pulling the belly in with the inhalation instead of allowing it to expand outward. So you're doing the reverse, right? You've swapped the pump and the breath. So that's going to lead to dizziness, equilibrium is off balance, or lightheadedness. So that's why it's always a good idea to stop and come back to long, deep breathing. And it's also part of why you practice breath of fire for 3 minutes and then do the 2 minutes of rest. Or if you're brand new to it, do 1 minute of breath of fire and build up from there. And that can be a much easier introduction to not only building your lung capacity, but to familiarize yourself with how it actually feels within your body and how it feels to do it correctly. So we're just going to do a couple of breath of fire, a couple of minutes of breath of fire. Sorry, I'm kind of losing my train of thought here. So you can have your eyes open, you can have your eyes closed, whichever feels more comfortable for you. So we're just going to start with an inhale. And then again, think of panting. So we'll open our mouth and we'll do a panting just to kind of get familiar. So stick your tongue out, open your mouth, panting. And we're just going to go slow. Now close your mouth and we're going to apply that to just the nostrils. Again, pumping from the navel center, not exaggerated. It's a light pumping. And then something that helped me when I first started was I will place my right hand over my belly, over the navel center, and inhale, and then begin to do the breath of fire. That way it helps you to connect to, okay, is my inhale expanding or is it contracting? Kind of helps you stay focused on both breath and pump, and then helps you keep it equal. And you want to make sure your posture is upright. Shoulders relaxed. And then inhale, hold. Exhale. And then we're just going to sit and breathe for a moment. And then something else I wanted to call out, I forgot to add this to my note. I'll make sure I put that in the description. You may, let me rephrase that, you may notice that you start to feel warmer, and that is part of breath of fire. You will notice that body temperature will increase as blood circulation obviously increases as well. So if you're sensitive to heat and you feel like it's increasing more than you're comfortable with, stop, come back to long deep breathing. Now if you feel that that's not enough, go ahead and block your right nostril with your thumb, uh, right thumb in, and then do long deep breathing just through your left nostril to bring in that cooling, soothing breath, right? Because the Ida, which is the left nostril, that's associated with the moon, with cooling, with soothing, with calm, right? So that will help bring the temperature back down. So in case you're sensitive to heat, I know I am. When I first started working with Breath of Fire, I had to stop and do that while I was building up my lung capacity, and also just finding balance with the Breath of Fire as I would breathe through the Ida Nadi to help cool the system down, to bring everybody back into balance. So I didn't give up, instead of continuing to build lung capacity, my tolerance for the increase in temperature. So just wanted to call that out before I forgot. I hope you found this helpful, and I will see you soon.